Hey, what's going on YouTube? Today we're going to cover mid lane Malzahar, the Prophet of the Void.
Oblivion awaits.
Malz is no longer considered a top tier champion after his nerfs, but he's still a really solid pickup. With the item build he goes for and his kit, he's actually a rather tanky mage and makes him great in a very squishy comp. He's got an amazing suppress from his ultimate, and he can actually delete high valued targets even if they were fed. If the enemy AD carry does get really fed, that may not matter if Malz is able to land a really good ultimate on that target. You're also really good at farming and pushing the lane, and you even get the mana return from that Malefic Visions so you don't get too low in the mid lane. There's also a very limited amount of counter picks, and you counter a lot of the mid laners out there. This makes him a really good pick early on in the draft, and people are going to be upset that they have to deal with the Malz all game long. His biggest cons are that he's very immobile, and he's got no built-in escape. This pretty much means warding and positioning are very key on Malzahar. The only thing you could do if somebody's coming in for a gank is hopefully land a silence. Other than that, you can only walk away. Just like a lot of the mid laners out there, you do require some items to be successful. Until you do get your core build, you're not really going to be able to delete people with your combo, but when you do, oh man is Malzahar ever fun. For our Masteries, we go 18 Ferocity and 12 Cunning, getting Deathfire Touch as our Keystone Mastery. This is a mastery you don't see too often, but it's great on Malzahar for adding a little bit of extra harass. When we add Deathfire Touch and Leandries onto our Malefic Visions, it actually does a lot of burn damage and is really hard to deal with when it's on you for large durations. Other than that, we focus on getting as much damage as we can, and we do take Oppressor since we do have our ultimate. One alternative, of course, would be taking Vampirism over Natural Talent if you did prefer a little bit of sustain in the lane. As for our runes, well, we get Magic Penetration Reds, Scaling Health Yellows, Scaling Cooldown Reduction Blues, and Magic Resist Blues, and Ability Power Quints. This gives us a lot of ability power and magic penetration to do extra harass and clear those minion waves, and some nice tankiness in the scaling health and magic resist. In our item build, the only thing we really grab that has cooldown reduction on it would be the Morellonomicon. Now, of course, we could get stuff like Zonias as well, but generally we'll have between 20 and 30% CDR, so we get that extra 10% from our runes to help use our abilities more often. Now, Malzahar has a lot of summoners that work well, but his current highest win rate combo is Flash and Ghost. Malzahar is a very immobile champion, and in a meta which is very reliant on having some solid movement speed and mobility, Flash and Ghost work very well for him. Since you don't actually have a built-in escape, Flash will get you out of all sorts of different horrible situations. You can also catch a target off guard and flash forward to land your combo on them and delete them. Ghost is also great for escaping and engaging on slower enemies that can't get away from your Ghost. This can get you important picks in the game, which can then give objectives in return. Now, some other great pickups would of course be Ignite and Exhaust. Now, if you want a little bit of added kill pressure, Ignite is great. With your combo though, it does so much single target damage that Ignite isn't even necessary. However, there are some situations, especially against stuff like Swain and whatnot that do abuse healing, where you would want Ignite. As for Exhaust, well, it's pretty much to stop those damn like Katarinas, Zeds, Talons, and all that other garbage that jumps onto you so they can't actually insta-gib you. This can give you enough time to set up your combo and delete them instead. So now we're going to look at each of his abilities, starting with his newly nerfed passive, Void Shift. In 6.14, Malzahar was the #1 ranked champion for win rate in both top and mid lane. With just the number change on this ability, he's now in the middle of the pack. Still an amazing passive, but it used to last 1 second after taking damage, which is now 0.25. So Malzahar receives this Void Shift if he hasn't taken damage nor been affected by crowd control in the last between 30 and 12 seconds. Now in lane phase, early on you're probably not going to get this that often, unless you're playing really safe. However, when you do get this, it's overpowered. You become immune to crowd control and take 90% reduced damage, which lingers for 0.25 seconds after taking damage or blocking a crowd control effect. Now you can see why this would be overpowered, because it used to last 1 second, and 1 second of 90% reduced damage and not being able to be affected by CCs is pretty fucking good. This alone would give you enough time to get off your combo if you did get jumped off on, since you couldn't get CC'd. All in all, it's still a great passive, and make sure you are taking advantage of it when you do have Void Shift. Next up is Malzahar's Q, Call of the Void. You summon 2 orbs at the target location perpendicular to where he is facing, dealing magic damage to all enemies caught between the orbs and silencing them. Magic damage has a decent base of between 70 and 230 plus 70% AP, and it silences for between 1 and 2 seconds. With the Malzahar rework, this skill became easier to land, but took a heavy damage nerf with less AP scaling and also a shorter silence duration. Now I prefer maxing this one second, but some people do prefer taking W second instead. I like it because it's a great harassing tool with a great silence, and it's also good for making sure your Malefic Visions resets so you can chunk minions that are low but not going to actually die from Malefic Visions itself. The 1 second increased silence duration can actually make a huge difference as well. If you silence something like a Katarina that jumped in, 1 second silence would of course still stop her ultimate, but she'd be able to jump away pretty soon. However, if it's a 2 second silence duration, usually she will die in that duration rather than being able to jump away afterwards. All in all, it is a great ability, and although the damage is a bit less than pre-rework Malzahar, at least it's a lot easier to land. Next up is Malzahar's W Void Swarm, and it's kind of like a ZZ Rot portal on steroids. So you summon a Voidling at the target location for 12 seconds that deals physical damage plus bonus magic damage on its attacks. These Voidlings deal 50% damage to monsters and 300% damage against minions below 25% maximum health. This can be great to make sure minions die to your Malefic Visions, so it keeps bouncing around the minion pack. So the first time a Voidling attacks a champion or large monster, or assists in killing a unit, Malzahar will spawn an additional Voidling with the same remaining duration that in turn can spawn additional Voidlings. This, however, cannot happen if there is less than 4 seconds remaining on the swarm. So if you do get 3 Voidlings active at the same time, they all gain 50% bonus attack speed, and Voidlings gain 100% bonus movement speed moving towards priority targets. So that would be things with Malefic Visions on them. So these little buggers are pretty damn good. If you can time it correctly, you'll have 3 of these hitting something, and when they are in your Nether Grasp, yeah, they're going to take a lot of damage. They're pretty good, and they do work really well with AD Malzahar jungle since they get 40% AD ratio, but I do prefer the Q for mid lane AP Malzahar. It is a great ability, and like I said on the Q page, I do like maxing Q before W, but I do see why people max W as well. So last but not least, for your basic abilities, your bread and butter one, Malefic Visions. So Malzahar infects the target enemy's mind, dealing them magic damage every half second over 4 seconds. Damaging a target with Call of the Void or Nether Grasp will also refresh the duration of Malefic Visions. This can be great just to ensure that they will keep Malefic Visions on when they are in your ultimate. You won't have to worry about refreshing it before you go in for the ultimate. As for the damage, well, it's between 10 and 27.5 base plus 8.75% AP every half second. Of course, if you want to know the full damage, you just take these numbers and multiply by 8. If the target dies during this time, they pass Malefic Visions onto the closest enemy, refreshing the duration and restoring 2% of Malzahar's maximum mana. This is a fantastic part of the ability because even if you are throwing this out on every minion wave, you're going to get a lot of mana in return and you're never really going to have to worry about your mana. So yeah, this ability is just straight up amazing. This is why you max it first. It does high damage, it can make farming for you insanely easy, can push the minion wave under tower for champions who struggle kind of last hitting under tower like LeBlanc, and it's also going to zone the enemy champion a little bit. They obviously never want Malefic Visions to jump to themselves, so they're going to have to position in a way where they're not going to get that jump. This means if it is on the last minion of that wave, they're not going to really want to be anywhere near it, so you don't really have to worry about taking too much harass. Awesome ability that annoys the crap out of everybody, and is pretty much why Malzahar is referred to as cancer. Last but not least, Malzahar's incredible 1v1 ultimate, Nether Grasp. So when you use it, you knock down that enemy champion, and for the next 2.5 seconds, you channel, during which the target is suppressed. A null zone is opened beneath that target, which lasts 5 seconds, dealing magic damage every second to both Nether Grasp target as well as all others within it. The damage per second is between 5 and 9% plus 1.5% per 100 AP of the target's maximum health. Now that is a ton of damage. If somebody took the full 5 seconds, it would be obnoxiously high, but keep in mind you actually only hold them there for 2.5. So let's say this is pretty late game, you have 500 AP, and of course this ability is max rank, doing the base 9% of target maximum health. This would equate to 16.5% of the target's maximum health per second. Multiply that by 5, 82.5% of the target's maximum health. When you combine that with Deathfire's Touch, Leandries, and your Malefic Visions, holy shit. Now, of course, there's stuff like Magic Resist, and you can't get through all Magic Resist, but this ability is insane. Now, generally, you want to use it, of course, on a squishy target to take something like a Vayne out of the fight, but since it is off of target's maximum health, you can pretty much delete whatever the fuck you want. This is a fantastic ultimate, and it's a big reason why Malzahar is such a bastard to fight in the mid lane. You always have to worry about getting Nether Grasped. Now, the one big downside we haven't talked about for Nether Grasp is the fact that QSS can remove it. Now, keep in mind as well that this only removes the actual tether, it does not remove the null zone. Even if this does get cleansed, if dropped in a really good spot, it can still add a lot in a team fight. This can either add a ton of damage or just zone them out of that section of the map. So here is your ability order, and in all cases you want to max your Nether Grasp first and Malefic Visions. Call of the Void and Void Swarm are interchangeable, it kind of depends on your personal preference, but we do want to get one into Void Swarm at level 2 so we can clean those minion waves with our Void Swarm helping our Malefic Visions. For our lane phase, we want to start clearing those minion waves at level 2 with our Malefic Visions and Void Swarm combo. This combo with your auto attack should take out the melee minions and then bounce to the casters. You'll want to also try to harass your opponent as much as you can. Use your Malefic Vision bounces and auto attacks to do so. If they try to engage, you can then use Call of the Void to silence them. If you end up getting them to around 50% for when you hit level 6, you can get an insanely easy kill with your Nether Grasp. Just make sure you have Malefic Visions on them, you have your Void Swarm out, and then ultimate them for that easy kill. If the enemy mid laner starts roaming, try and follow them for counter ganks. Quickly push the lane with the Malefic Visions so they'll lose a lot of experience while they're gone, and hopefully you can find that opportunity to counter gank. However, make sure you be careful though, you have no escape and you lack mobility, so don't get caught out on your way over. Assuming you do get there completely fine and it is a counter gank opportunity, go on to either the enemy that is engaging onto your champion or kill their squishy target. Malzahar is a very solid team fighter, but requires excellent positioning. You'll want to try to land Call of the Void on their backline champions to stop some of their high damage abilities and chunk them down fairly low. Generally, you'll want to save onto your ultimate for a while because you'll be stopped as soon as you do it early on in the fight. This of course depends on the enemy team comp though. If they have absolutely no CCs or silences, well then, you may as well go in for the ultimate whenever the hell you feel like it, but generally there'll be at least some of these abilities. If there's not, well, you want it draft anyways. Sometimes it's also a good idea to use your ultimate on the enemy team's engaging champion so you can deal with them before their team is kind of ready for the fight. This will be stuff especially like Jax who's trying to go in and land that AoE stun. Generally you don't want to waste it on something like a Mundo, although you could delete a Mundo with, the healing reduction you have and all that shit, but you kind of want to still delete a high priority target. Now hopefully you can actually make it to the end of a team fight, because this is where you actually excel. Your Malefic Visions combined with your Deathfire Touch and Liandry's will just absolutely shred through the low HP enemies and should net some really easy kills. So here's some of his harder matchups, and the first one is Victor. First main reason, well, he's able to outtrade you due to the shield from his Siphon Power, and this can also soak up all the Malefic Vision damage he would have taken from that ability. His Death Ray does a lot of poke and is hard for you to deal with, and his Chaos Storm can even stop your ultimate if he times it correctly. Definitely one of your hardest matchups, and you generally won't want to pick a Malzahar into a Victor. Next up is Swain, another really hard matchup. He gets a lot of mana from his abilities just like you in his Carrion Renewal. His Torment is then also very comparable to Malefic Visions, and once he's level 6, this is where the issue comes in the fact that he can easily out-sustain you. This will be one of those scenarios where you do want to take Ignite, and hopefully you can combo him down with your combo. Last would be those damn assassin champions like Talon and Akali. Their early game isn't too lethal, but when they are level 6, they will have tons of damage and mobility and can delete you rather quickly where you wouldn't even have enough time to react. If they manage to bring you down once or twice, they can start snowballing out of control. These will be scenarios where you do want to take exhaust, so hopefully you can switch it around on them and delete them instead. Now for the item build, which starts with a Doran's Ring, health potions, and a warding totem. On your first back, you're going to want to get a Lost Chapter for its ability power, mana, and when you level, you get 20% of your maximum mana over 3 seconds. Fantastic way to make sure that you're able to keep spamming your abilities, and you get a nice little chunk of ability power as well. You then move into Boots of Speed as well because moving around is awesome, and you grab a Vision Ward just to ensure that you can position correctly and watch for those ganks. For a core build, it would be a Morellonomicon, Sorceress Boots, Rylai's Crystal Scepter, and Liandry's Torment. Morello's is amazing, so you actually get some early cooldown reduction, ability power, and some nice mana sustain. Rylai's makes you kite a lot easier since you will be applying slows, and it makes you a bit tankier as well. Then you get the nice magic penetration from the Sork boots and Leandries as well, and the awesome burn that Leandries provides as well. For our item pool, we have Rabadon's Death Cap for some mass AP, Void Staff to get through any magic resist, Zonia's for yet some more AP and an amazing activate, which is great defensively, Abyssal Scepter if you do need some magic resist, Luden's Echo for some nice movement speed and higher burst damage, and Proto Belt because why the hell not. The example full build here is pretty much the build I go for every single game unless I do really need either the Abyssal Scepter or the Zonias. We are a mage who's very reliant on deleting a single target, so I take our core and then add a Rabadon's Death Cap and a Void Staff. This build in total will give a ton of AP, a lot of magic penetration considering we have 3 items that actually do it, make us a little bit tanky from the health on the Rylai's and the Leandries, and still give that nice grievous wounds on the Morellonomicon. The one downside is we will only be at 30% CDR with our runes, but 10% isn't that big of a deal. So that covers everything for our mid lane AP Malzahar guide. If you guys did enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe as we have lots and lots of League of Legends content coming out every single day. Other than that, make sure you guys visit our Twitter at egaming_TV because we do skin giveaways on there and we would love for you guys to win some free skins. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy the video and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
But I may just go apeshit, say fuck y'all to all of y'all faces. It changes though now that I'm famous. Everyone knows how this lifestyle is dangerous, but I love it, the rush is amazing. Celebrate nightly and everyone rages. I found how to cope with my angers. I'm swimming in money, swimming in liquor. My liver is muddy, but it's all good, I'm still sipping this bubbly. This shit is lovely, this shit ain't random, I didn't get lucky.